Do you have a biblical view of God? You know, the way we view God is going to affect everything in our lives. Welcome to this, your daily 180 Bible study. Today we begin a series entitled A Biblical View of God. Now, one of the problems that we oftentimes have is that we have a flawed view of God. And we see that in a lot of different respects. Sometimes people think that they can manipulate the God of the Bible, or they can just do whatever they want. And as a matter of fact, there are examples in Scripture of people who had a flawed view of God. A great example would be over in Matthew chapter 25. We have there the parable of the talents. You may be familiar with this. A master is going off on a long journey, and the master represents the Lord. He's going off on a long journey, and he calls his 3 servants together. To one servant he gives 5 talents, or 5 resources. To another he gives 2, and to another he gives 1. The one who had 5, he went out and put it to work and got 5 more. To the one that he gave 2 to, he went out and put it to work, and likewise he gained 2 more. But the one who had 1 talent, he took his 1 talent and he buried it in the ground. When the master returned, he had this to say to him. Look at verse number 24 of Matthew 25. Then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. And I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. Now, in the very next verse, we see that the master calls him a wicked and lazy servant. This servant had a terrible view of God, a terrible view of the master. He thought that the master was a hard, unfeeling individual. Well, that's not God at all. A lot of people feel that way about God. Over in Luke chapter 15, you may be familiar with the story of the prodigal son, but there's another son who's mentioned, and that's the older brother. And the older brother was jealous when the younger son came home, and he says to the father, who is symbolizes God, who represents God, the older son says, what is this that you've done that for this younger son, that you're making merry for him? I've been with you all these years, slaving for you, serving you. What a horrible concept, not realizing he had been blessed to be in the presence of the Father. Join us again tomorrow for your Daily 180.